Welcome back to CBS4K, and these are strategy and RPG games you might not have heard of, but were featured in Next Fest. Now before we begin, I'd like to first say thank you for stopping by. If you like any of these games, I strongly recommend you go into Steam, look them up yourself, and wishlist them if you truly, and I mean truly, like them. And if you truly, and I mean truly, like what you see here, then don't forget to hit the like button or the subscribe button. It helps this channel grow, and I'm trying to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers, so any little bit helps out a lot. As a side note, please remember that things change all the time, so game features that you see here might be different from release, and the time of release might be different from what is actually listed on the Steam page or I mentioned in this video. Just bear in mind that people change things all the time. Why should video games be any different? Now, without further ado, let's begin. Deep Space Tavern was developed and published by World Away Games and is slated for release in September 2024. And it is a cantina management sim where you're basically managing this futuristic space cantina, serving drinks and collecting money, and building it up to make it more appealing for more customers. So this game got my attention. It got my attention so well and held it for so long that I had ran out of time. I played for a good 30 minutes, which very rarely happens when I play video games. And I was just amazed at how it drew me in with its management style, with its setting up of collecting coins and cleaning up filth from the barroom floor and various other things. This management sim really has a nice set of gameplay features, and also I like the voice acting from the Scottish robot. It was fun listening to him making quips and jibes about the situation and how it was unfolding before me. It's a fun little management sim. I don't expect it to be record-breaking or win multiple awards like other games in this genre, but I do expect it to do pretty well, as it's a fun ride and I have a great amount of time with it. Whenever a patron visits the bar, you have to fire a drink into the mouth. And once you fire a drink into their mouth, they drop coins. Now each one of these coins is worth one future buck. So you fire the drink in their mouth, drop one coin to pay you, and another coin to tip you. That's right, you get a tip. Now to make sure you keep getting tips is you have to keep the bar's quality up high. And what I mean by that, I mean you have to clean it, you have to make sure there's good entertaining things in the area. All in all, you have to keep the people who visit your bar happy, which is, let's be honest, how games in this genre work. It's a fun little indie title. I had fun with it. I'm sure you will too. Tactical Breach Wizards. They have got to be the strangest wizards I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
Tactical Breach Wizards is developed by Suspicious Development Inc. and published by Suspicious Developments. This is a turn-based tactical game with a great deal of RPG in it. It has enough. It's story-rich, and it takes wizards in a very different way. It's slated for release in 2024, August 22nd. So you lead a band of renegade wizards in Kevlar through a turn-based battle system where you take on a very weird conspiracy that will put your skill set for turn-based tactical battle to the test. Now, in between missions, you'll also have a chance to set up your team give them certain special abilities with upgrades and change around their outfits. If you get certain perk points from completing missions in special or unique ways, using characters in very unique and interesting ways. Now this really adds a wrinkle to the gameplay because you're not just playing through the levels trying to beat them. You're also playing the levels to unlock new outfits for your wizards. But the true fun to me about Tactical Breach Wizards is what happens in battles, like knocking enemies into, well, out of a window or knocking him into a blast from another soldier. The game really gives you a number of tools to just have fun with the idea that you are playing a bunch of wizards in Kevlar shooting up places using magical spells instead of bullets. It adds a fascinating wrinkle to the turn-based genre. I don't think there's any game quite like it. I recommend this for people who like the XCOM formula or like other tactical games in this genre, but thought, hey, I always wanted to control a wizard in these games. Well, now's your chance. You get a wizard, but they also get a gun. So it's a gun wizard. You're gonna have fun with that, trust me. The Vigilante Diaries, brought to you by the people of Out of the Blue Games. They both developed and published this game. Now some of you are probably wondering what this game actually is. Well, it is something a little bit different for this channel. It's a visual novel. Visual novels are basically games where you are choosing your own adventure type of game. And you're just watching the various elements of the narrative just play out as you make certain selections, and it drives the narrative forward. Now, this might be boring to some of you, but I actually found it kind of fascinating and a different thing to do as to my regular gameplay. Because usually my gameplay is more action-adventure, more turn-based, but here I found a nice change of pace. Anyway, there is no slate of when this is coming out, it just says coming soon. Now you might have noticed that I haven't gotten good footage of this boat because there's a little bit of struggle with getting good footage from it. Apparently it's not recordable by Shadowplay at the moment, which is fine. I'll just use the trailer here instead, and we'll just have a little bit of discussion about the gameplay elements. So you have stats. There are various stats, and you also have relationships that you need to work on. And whenever you make a decision, you might cause a stat to weaken, or you might cause a relationship to get stronger, or you might cause various things to change within the city. And you'll also showcase the hideout in elaborate functions. So you'll see basically your entire superhero persona change as the game goes on. Or should I say your masked vigilante persona. It's more of a pulp hero than a traditional superhero story. So I found that fascinating. And it all takes place over a span of around 40 years, which I found that an interesting idea because, let's be honest, you're basically playing through this person's life. You're seeing what they did when they were a child, you're seeing what they did as adults, what they did when they were fighting crime, what changes they had on the city, all the news reports that come out about them. You might become a dangerous vigilante who just kills criminals at random, or you might be a avenging crusader who protects the innocent, or you might be a rabble-rousing person from V from Vendetta who just plunges a very totalitarian regime into utter anarchy and chaos to free the people. All are interesting ways to play. This game has piqued my interest. Curious to see more. Zephon, both developed and published by Proxy Studios, is basically from Warhammer 40k Gladius developers. It's about a post-apocalyptic 4X strategy game, and you can tell it has similar leanings to its predecessor, but with its own lore and aesthetic. It's slated for release later this year in 2024. But as always, those plans can change on a dime. Now, you'll be using Proxy's unique tactical combat system, which they perfected in Gladius. You'll also be using the research system to gain more tech, new weapons, new buildings to build. But also, you'll be trying to build up your cities. To build up these cities, you're going to have to clear off tiles, also enable you to build units to put on the battlefield to go up against your ever-encroaching enemies that can run the gambit from simple monsters to cyberpunk constructs to horrors beyond the imagination. All these you're going to have to face down and subdue in order to rebuild the human race, which has suffered catastrophic losses. So in order to fix that, you're going to have to buckle down, build some cities, set up a great defense, and then slowly but surely move through the dangers of this world. And in the end, you'll be rewarded with these marvelous mega cities and these massive armies that will do your bidding and crush your foes with overwhelming force. It'll be a sight to behold. The next game up is Slaves of Magic. Now, you may notice something very interesting at the beginning of the demo when you start up a new game. Let's take a watch, shall we?
Hello, Commander. In light of the recent extraterrestrial incursion, this Council of Nations has convened to approve the activation of the XCOM project. You have been chosen to lead this initiative, to oversee our first and last line of defense. Your efforts will have considerable influence on this planet's future. We urge you to keep that in mind as you proceed. Good luck, Commander.
Behind closed doors, this Shadow Council has agreed on the formation of the Resistance Movement, and you have been chosen as its commander. Under your leadership, humanity either gets its freedom back or forever becomes the slaves of magic. Good luck, Commander.
Similar, right? Hey, if you're going to be inspired by somebody, then you should be inspired by the best. But that being said, Slaves of Magic is very different from XCOM in some very subtle ways, and some not so subtle ways. Let me show you what I mean right now. Slaves of Magic is published and developed by Amethyst Dreamers. It's supposed to come out later this year in 2024. There's some good parts of here that I would recommend for people who truly enjoyed the XCOM experience. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. In this game, you are the Resistance. You are fighting off this weird mystical enemy that's trying to take over the entire human race. Now, you have a great deal of tools in the toolkit to deal with this problem. Most primary of which are, you guessed it, your soldiers. They have their own special abilities, their own talent trees, their own skill sets, and most importantly, they have their own lives. And they will lose them in battle if you're not careful. That's right, our old friend Permadeath is back at it again. So, you're going to have to be more careful, you're going to have to be much more cautious in these turn-based battle situations. More medieval weapons in this game instead of the more modern weapons you get in the XCOM titles, which I kind of like that. I like that change of pace. That sense of, we're different, but we're still have a lot of things going for us that's similar to the old thing. And it works pretty well here. Like, you run in, you start slashing at enemies, you take them out, you get better equipment, you get better weapons, you learned through research, you get better tools to fight off the evil magic threat, and it all is put in a nice and interesting narrative that pushes you to move forward with the story with new surprises and new enemies all around the corner. So the really fun thing about this game I noticed is that you're not just fighting like regular like enemies or aliens. You'll be fighting like goblins, giant spider monsters, you'll be fighting orcs, you'll be fighting all kinds of crazy creatures in the coming days of war against the magical threat. It'll actually be a very interesting game. I'm curious to see where they'll go with it and what other characters you'll be able to use, like what other special abilities. To be perfectly frank, I really enjoyed it, but I thought they could have done with a little bit more, like a better tutorial in the beginning to explain things a little bit better to a new and prospective buyer.
Purple portals appeared from thin air, and all sorts of strange creatures poured out into the streets. Amidst the chaos of my escape, I even caught a glimpse of...
Ruined Coliseum is both published and developed by Raphael Software, and it's due for release in July 2024. That means it's not far from release from the time this video goes up, and from what I've seen, it looks like it's pretty much done. Maybe some polishing, maybe it's a little bit fine-tuning. We'll see. For those of you who like We Who Are About to Die, you might love this game. It's another Coliseum game, but wait, there's something else about it too. Ruined Coliseum is a turn-based card battler. Now, wait, before you leave. Card battlers aren't all that. I know there's a ton of them out, but it's because they're simple to make. And here, it's actually a little bit more interesting because it's a roguelike as well. Ruined Coliseum has an addictive nature to it because you don't just get cards. You get equipment, you get better abilities as you play through the game. You get money to spend on the black market to sell equipment and get more powerful gear. You have a lot of options in Ruined Coliseum to improve your character. So it's actually quite a good RPG and strategy game. So it scratches both those itches for people who are into that sort of thing. Ruined Coliseum battles can start off rather simple with you using a block or a dodge or advance or a fallback to outmaneuver your opponent, but then you can hit a special ultimate move where you can do a finisher onto your enemy. These finishers do a ton of damage, and they're a great spectacle for the crowd, which will give you a nice pat on the back. I don't know if it gives you a bonus financially, but on a personal level, I enjoy watching every time my character pulls one off. It's a lot of fun, and it's a thrill to watch.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Megaloot is published by Revenger Games and developed by Accelerate. It is slated for release this year and is basically an inventory management roguelike RPG. It may seem a little bit simple, but honestly, there's some really good complex plans and strategy and tactics going on under the hood. Megaloot, you start out by picking your character and picking what bonuses and special abilities they have, and then you proceed through the game. Now after that, you don't get hit with a cutscene, you don't get hit with the storyline, you are simply thrust into the game where you battle wave after wave of monsters, collecting items, buying new items to equip to your hero, and they collect it and they start fighting again. Now, some might not like this lack of story, but I get the feeling like a large number of people will like the fact that they don't focus too much on story, they just focus on the action. Now, what's interesting about this game is that it's not about the destination, it's more about the journey. What kind of build you can make, What sort of equipment can you get? What sort of character are you working with? It's all a little bit more fun than most other straightforward RPGs, because this one enables you to play around with the mechanics fully without any interruptions. You don't need to go to town to restock, because on the same screen you just buy new equipment, you replace the equipment with the money you get. Watch out for those goblins, they will try and steal your money. But other than that, the gameplay is rather simple. But here's the crazy thing about this game. You get addicted to it real fast. I couldn't tell you how fast I got addicted. I just knew I lost time when I started playing this game. I just looked around and I was like, wait a minute, I was supposed to only play this for a few minutes. And then like 30 minutes have gone by, and then even more time has passed once I decided to, let's play a couple more minutes. I'll try a new character, try a new approach to the game, and I have to say I really like it. In the end, I recommend this for people who are into roguelikes and don't want to be bothered with a ton of cutscenes while they play the game. They just want to play. From my own first-hand experience, I can tell you that this game is fun, simple, and addictive. If you're down for all of that, then I highly recommend Megaloot.
I'm ready.
Heck yeah! Forgotten but Unbroken was published by Microprose Software and developed by Centurion Developments. It is a tactical turn-based strategy game, and it is slated to release sometime in this year. For those of you who are old school gamers out there, some of you might recognize the name of Silent Storm. Silent Storm was an XCOM-like game based in World War II. Now, why do I mention that? It's because of the next game, Forgotten but Unbroken, follows in the same footsteps. There's a lot of cool things you can do in this game. Mainly being, you can do the typical set up an Overwatch, or you can use your sniper from a distance, or you can use a machine gun nest and mow down multiple enemies in a turn. It's actually quite impressive to see it in full display. Now, there's a few things that are clunky about it still, but it seems like it's not even finished yet. They're working out some of the kinks. One of the suggestions I would probably make for them is probably to tighten up the visual design a little bit. I don't know, maybe it's the lighting, maybe it's something else, but it doesn't seem to be landing as well as something else in the genre. In the game already, there's perk trees, as well as guns for your standards of firing, reloading and such, as well as grenades and various other equipment or weapons that were used during this era. I have to say, I'm very excited to get my hands on it. It looks like it has a good mix of tactics and strategy, with a strategic layer, as you can do things like recruit new troops, get new equipment for your soldiers, and listen to the spy network over the radio. Now, this feature isn't in the game yet, but I'm only assuming it'll enable you to get heads up on new missions that come your way, or ways to sabotage the Germans in World War II. All would be a most appreciated and welcome addition to the game. As for difficulty for this game, I gotta say, it will put you through your paces. It's got good AI. The game sort of forces you to think more strategically, as one shot from your gun rifle doesn't end creatures like they do in most games in this genre. So you're going to have to be more tactical and more resourceful. At least at the beginning. You might get upgrades to your weapons later on. But there's a good mix of enemy types to throw you for a loop, with a number of curveballs they can throw your way. So you have to be very, very careful and tactical throughout your entire playthrough. Now, the main weakness of this game is that it's in an already crowded genre, with things like Company of Heroes and Classified France 44 already occupying it. There's a good chance they can stand out by doing a few different things from the other titles, but at the same time still capitalizing on the very, very popular genre. Remains to be seen what they'll do, but I, for one, am excited. Alright guys, thanks so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. And like I said before, if you want to learn more about these games, I suggest go to Steam. Find them on there. And don't be afraid to put them on your wish list. And keep updated to them. Because to me, some of them are worth a closer examination. As, let's be honest, some of them are severely and unfairly underrated. But for now, I'm off to the sunset. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.